Hello, champions. My name is Guy. Let me check sure I'm not blasting. Hello, champions. My name is Guy. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I posted. I have actually been depressed. Fear not. I have spent the last 3 months, almost 4 months, finding the perfect video to come back with, and I think I have found it. This is a video. So I'm a little behind on this trend. It looks like this video was actually posted a year ago, but this video was posted by the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and it is titled 2 Hours of Chill Shrimp to Work, Study, Relax, Lo-Fi Hip Hop, Monterey Bay Aquarium Krill Waves Radio. If you haven't heard of the Monterey Bay Aquarium, 2 hours of chill shrimp. All right, so what do we got here? Looks like there's a shrimp on the rock. Oh, he's doing a little dance, but there's a shrimp on a rock right here. Let's see. Oh, hey, look, do you see that? There's like a little like red and blue fish hidden down by that kind of coconutty looking thing. Oh, he's feeling around. Oh, what'd he find? It looked like he found something for a second. You see, he put all his pincers into one spot. Wow. There he goes. Oh, that little fish is moving. What do you got for us, bud? Your life exists only for entertainment. Oh. What's he got? Anything? No, he's just looking around. Now, normally there is music that plays with this, but I don't want to just literally play the entire soundtrack, so we are kind of... Oh my god, hold on, there's another guy. Hold on. He's looking around too. What do you think they're looking around for? If there's any marine biologists in the chat today, sound off. Tell me what they're doing. He's cleaning his little antenna. Wow. Nature is amazing. It's kind of cool that they have like the little grabbers on like the ends of their toes, you know? Oh, I was talking about the music. So yeah, I cut out the music from this because I didn't want to get copyright. But I'll play just a quick snippet for you. Just imagine some lo-fi. That's that. Oh, shrimp. You're not gonna find anything there, buddy. His friend already picked it clean. Dude, shrimp are weird looking. They got those little like black eyes. Kind of freak me out. And this little fish, I don't know what he's doing, but he is hanging out. He is hiding. Neat. I'm actually so enthralled in this. Oh my god, there's another one. Do you see that? Was he there the whole time, or did he just pop out? I like that they're both just kind of... They're popping their little faces up on the rock watching this guy. It's like when I'm cooking and you see my 2 dogs. They're just like hanging out waiting for something to drop. No, their little eyes. It reminds me of... I don't know how many people, I don't know my audience. I know some of you guys are older, some of you guys are younger, but I don't know how many of you guys are like my age. Who here like grew up with Bionicles, you know? Their little eyes remind me of the, oh gosh, what were they called? What were the animals in Bionicles called? Rahi. It's like the Rahi eyes, just like those little like black nubs that sit on the end. I've been having like a Bionicles resurgence. I just watched a documentary, like a YouTube documentary. Who was it by? Let me see if I can find it. But I watched a YouTube documentary essentially about the history of Bionicle and how just like interesting as a brand Bionicle was when you kind of like consider the essentially like the state that the Lego company was in before Bionicle, and just like all of the different iterations Bionicle went through before they finally settled on what it was. Let me see if I can find this Bionicle documentary really quick. But one of the neat things that I found, here we go, toy that saved Lego by slow start. Yeah, so it was this one right here. It was a really good video, really neat. One of the things that I thought was really neat was apparently in 2003, I believe, of all of the Lego toy lines, basically Bionicle brought in 100% of the profits for that year of Lego. Every other toy line that Lego owned only lost money, and Bionicle was the only one that gained money. But I just think that's really neat. I have I've always been a Bionicle fan, and I love the lore. I even know the Matoran alphabet. I know the whole language of Bionicle. We learned that when we were kids. I wonder if I still remember it. See that little guy pop up? He was just checking out the camera. Another one. Where'd they go? Oh, there's two guys. I wondered our friend. Oh no, he's still there. Our friend's still there. That little red and blue fish. Just feeling around that little hole. But no, Bionicle is one of my favorite things, and for a long time I was like well versed in like all of the Bionicle lore, and it's been a long time since I have like really touched on it. Like every once in a while I'll have like a little bit of resurgence where I'll like watch a couple Bionicles videos and like refresh it, but lately I've kind of really been getting back into that lore. And I just think it's so neat and so interesting how, you know, obviously Lego is a corporation, and it's just like, it's so neat. I just love when it's like, even though it's a business trying to make money, I love when you can tell people care. And they're like, there's a lot of heart put into what they are doing. And for me, at least, Bionicle really shows through in that department. It really shows a lot of like care and attention to, you know, the world building and the story behind it. That guy's looking right at us. Fight me. Anyway, yeah, it's really neat. It's like, you know, there's so much like care put into it, and like the details or the story, and like, I don't know. I just think it's really neat. I was always my very first Lego set actually ever out of any Legos that I got was the Toa Vakama Hordika set, which was essentially one of the lines of Bionicles, the Toa Hordika. Toa being, if you don't know, Toa are essentially the heroes of the Bionicle universe. And Hordika was this variant where the Toa who existed at the time, the Toa of the island of Metru Nui, it was Vakama, Toa of fire, Nokama, Toa of water, Wenua, Toa of stone, Pohatu. No, Pohatu was the next gen. Onua, Toa of earth. Stone and earth are different. Rock and stone. Matau, Toa of air. And Toa of ice. Oh god, it's been so long. It's like Riju or something. No, that's the princess from of the Gerudo from Breath of the Wild. What was his name? I don't remember. Hold on. Toa Metru of ice. Nuju. Okay, yeah. I was close. So those were the 6 Toa of Metru Nui at the time, and the Toa Hordika. They essentially had to shuttle off all of the citizens to this new island because the Metru Nui, the island they were on, it was like corrupt with evil. It was like falling apart. So they like shipped off all of the Matoran, who were the villagers, and the Turaga, who were the leaders, shipped them off to the new island of Mata Nui. And when they came back, because they came back at some point, the entire island had been overrun with these spiders known as the Viscerac. And their venom, they essentially, all 6 Toa got captured by these spiders, and they were bit, and their venom transformed them into like bestial, like monster forms. And that was the first Bionicle I ever had. First Lego I ever had, in general. And I think I still have all the parts. You know, depending on how this goes, how far has it been? It's been 10 minutes. Depending on how this goes, I might sit here and just start building with some of my old Lego pieces. Oh, I can't forget to like. Gotta like the video, obviously. Like this video, if you're still here. That's not my mug. Where was I going with that? Basically, there's just so much neat lore. One of the things, speaking of the heart, Bionicle was canceled as a series in like 2000, somewhere between like 2010 and like 2014, I want to say, somewhere in that window. And they brought it back in 2016. And they essentially rebooted the series. And let me freaking tell you something that makes me so mad is in this reboot. So, okay, listen. You have your 6 major elements of the Bionicle makeup, you know, whatever. Fire, water, ice, earth, stone, same thing, whatever, air. Okay? Basically, the difference between earth and stone kind of in the universe is earth is like the above ground. It's like the dirt, and it's like the sand and the sandstone and stuff like that. Whereas stone was underground. It was in the caves. It was in the tunnels. It was the ore. So it was like, that was kind of the distinction there. It's basically surface versus underground. But the thing that made me so mad when they rebooted the series, and I have not engaged with the rebooted series at all, so this is just going to come off kind of as the ramblings of a madman, but still it makes me upset, is they changed one of the elements, and it wasn't the one that needed changing, because if any one of them needed changing, it was either earth and stone or water and ice. One of those two, I think, could have done with a bit of a change to make it more distinct. And I think earth and stone were the most similar, and one of those could have changed. But here's what they changed, all right? New elements are as follows. Fire, water, ice, earth, stone, and jungle. Jungle is not an element. Now, I hear what you're saying. I am not opposed to having a Toa element be something kind of nature-based. And the reason they changed from air to jungle is in the Bionicle mythos, the lore, the air Toa have always been the ones that are most closely associated with the jungle. For example, Toa Liwa of the Toa Mata, they lived in the jungle. They lived in the treetops. They were essentially the caretakers of this giant jungle on the island. Metru Nui was kind of a giant city, so there wasn't like a ton of like distinct... I mean, there was a ton of distinct nature, but as far as like jungle-esque nature, like trees, there wasn't like a ton of like trees specifically, but there were, you could see in the design of the air district of Metru Nui that it was a little, there was some more nature there, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be totally wrong. Bionicles fans, sound off in the comments. But why would you change, I'm not even paying attention to the shrimp anymore. Why would you change air, which is its own distinct element with its own distinctive set of powers, instead of maybe reforming the Earth Toa, who already shares its domain with stone, and lifting that into the like forest and jungle Toa. So then instead you would have fire, water, ice, stone, air, and jungle. I think, personally, that makes a little more sense. But I think the thing that makes me more upset about it, rather than the thing that's harder to accept, I guess is the best thing to say, is that this new generation of Bionicle, the reboot, they're using the same Toa as the Toa Mata and changing their elements. Rather than making 6 new Toa and having one be a Toa of jungle instead of a Toa of air, which at least would be like, okay, I get it. Sure, he's just not a Toa of air, he's a Toa of jungle. They're reusing Liwa of the Toa Mata. So these are the Toa Mata again. It's Tahu, Gali, Onua, Pohatu, Kopaka, and Liwa. And they did Liwa. Wawa Liwa. That was bad. Why did I just make a Borat joke? Anyway. Should I become a Bionicle channel? I had a very, very short-lived Bionicles meme account on Instagram. Let me see if I can find it really quick. There we go. It was shit Bionicles memes. Shit Bionicle memes. Shit.bionicle.memes. If you guys want to subscribe, I'll bring it back. But it was shit like this. Let me see. I gotta turn up the OBS, see if we can even see that. It was shit like this. I think that's so fun. I love like super hyper specific memes. I love like hyper specific memes that are like self-aware of the fact that they're hyper specific, and just like with words that like only somebody that like is in the fandom would know what that even means. This one. Boom. Hold on. This one's just a flex. This one's just a flex on the haters, because I can read that Matoran alphabet right there on the top left. You know what that says? That says true Bionicle fans. True Bionicle fans. Me. I'm the Bionicles fan. It's I. So if you've made it to this far into the video, I super appreciate you. I've been here for about 20 minutes, and this is, if you haven't caught on, this is an April Fool's joke. You know, I've been struggling. Let me open the window really quick because it's getting a bit warm in here. So I said I was struggling with depression in the beginning of the episode, the beginning of this video, and that was not a lie. That was not a lie at all. I was feeling really just there's a misconception that depression is just like I'm sad. And that's not exactly, it certainly comes at a part of it. The biggest thing is it's like demotivation, essentially. You have literally, like, you cannot motivate yourself to do anything. And that's like a really simplified version of it. Me, I am somebody that thrives off of doing things. And so whenever, it happens every once in a while, I have some seasonal depression. And then there was just like bad thing after bad thing that happened kind of all in the span from like early December to like late January, February, honestly kind of recently. And so it kind of took those like seasonal depression aspects, which are already kind of hard to manage, especially because I'm not against medication. I just don't have any medication. Already kind of hard to manage. And it just like exacerbated it so bad. I even recorded, I had 3 Christmas videos, 3 Christmas holiday themed videos planned for December, which was really nice because my biggest struggle is coming up with video ideas in the first place. That I not that I have trouble coming up with video ideas, but I have trouble coming up with ideas. I have trouble coming up with ideas that I think people will think are entertaining. And so I came up with these 3 videos, and I was like, perfect. That solves half the problem in and of itself right there. But yeah, then it was just thing after thing after thing. And it just pushed it down, down, down. And then you get to that point where you haven't released a video for like a month and a half, 2 months. And then it's just like the pressure to release a good video when you come back is so much higher that the level of motivation needed to actually make a video is that much higher. And I sat down to record probably 2 or 3 times, and every time there was just something that happened, and I was just like, all right, that's all the wind out of my sails. So I appreciate you guys sticking around to this point. April Fools felt like the perfect time to come back, because I was like, that is just inherently goofy. That is just inherently a silly video that I can just like have like a bare bones idea. I saw this video, 2 hours of chill shrimp, and I was like, boom. I actually saw this months ago. It's been sitting in my my notes, doing a 2 hours of chill shrimp reaction video for April Fools. So I was like, cool, I already have the idea. It's goofy, it's silly, it's theoretically easy. Obviously, I'm sitting here planning on talking for 2 hours with nothing really planned. I'm kind of just riffing, but it's low stakes, it's low pressure, it's April Fools, and that'll kind of ease me back into getting videos out, and take off that pressure of, oh my god, I haven't released a video in 4 months, But all that being said, I really appreciate if you guys are still watching and you guys have stuck around. My plan, this is kind of a test, possibly thinking about doing some more like live stream stuff, possibly. Haven't decided, but this is a test to just see if that even goes well. That's kind of the idea of this. So yeah, I appreciate you guys sticking around. I hope that you guys stick around for the rest of the video. These shrimp are enthralling. I actually find biology super interesting. And just the thought of like what... Well, let's not get that existential at the beginning. I was going to ask like what consciousness is. Let's not get that existential quite yet. It is something I think about a lot though. Hope you guys are drinking something along at home. I don't know if you guys are interested in Bionicle lore as I am, but that's kind of where my brain has pivoted to, is Bionicle lore. I've been trying to like relearn Bionicle lore. One of the things I do find super interesting is, as far as the visual design of Bionicles, is if you watch that YouTube documentary I recommended, or you kind of like read up on the history, Bionicle was originally going to be a lot more... Hey, wait. We're reusing footage now. That was... Wait. That was the same... Wasn't that the same? The shrimp going... and then recoiling? And then in just a second, he's going to go back in and try to find that same spot. Wait. Hold on. Monterey Bay Aquarium. Are you reusing shrimp footage? Okay, hold on. I'm making a note of this for when I edit. Okay, yeah, and then that guy came in. The guy came in on the side. Okay, hold on. Hold your horses. 1 second. Hold on. 24. Same footage. I bet it is. I'm pretty sure that was the same footage. Either way, what I was going to say is I find it so fascinating when you look at like the design of Bionicle and like where it came from and like the design variations in what the brand was going to become as they designed it, how much the idea changed. It was originally going to be a lot more like hard Cybertronic mixed with like very fleshy, like hard distinction 90s 2000s kind of robo aesthetic, and I'm not a fan of that aesthetic personally. I think it's neat, but it just like it doesn't have a lot of character, and it's not something you like distinctly remember as far as I feel. It has a very like general aesthetic, which is cool for building a vibe, but not really cool if you're trying to design unique characters and have something that you're going to latch onto. The thing I find so fascinating about the design of Bionicle, especially in the masks, is how it's clearly robotic and it's clearly technology based, but it has like a natural look to it. It looks like, oh, this is a natural thing. And it comes mostly down to the mask. And the body itself, that's obviously clearly robot parts. But the masks, the distinct part that you'll, when you think of a Bionicle, you think of like, oh, that's their mask. They all have it's called Kanohi masks. Basically masks of power. They're forged out of Kanohi discs. Each disc has its own little set of powers. Anyway, yeah, just how like kind of natural the masks look, and it reminds me a lot when I look at like these shrimp. It has a very aquatic look in a way, like the way that the masks are shaped have kind of an aquatic feel to them, which I think was partially intentional. Bionicle is here's the controversy, right? Bionicle is heavily inspired and derivative of Islander people. I don't want to get the right. I don't remember if it was a specific island nation. Let me look it up. But I believe it was Island Nation inspired Bionicle. The Maori people. That's what it was. Yeah, so the Maori people, it was inspired a lot by that, which is an island nation. So it wouldn't surprise me if they being Lego, took the kind of marine and more aquatic but natural nature feeling, probably not directly, but pretty close to designs from an island nation who would have that kind of aquatic natural inspiration as far as like a culture. But it's a neat aesthetic. Bionicle, Lego actually got sued. I think it was before Bionicle even released. They got sued by the Maori people for lifting words and language directly from, I think it's Polynesian. Like huge cultural appropriation, just like right out of the fucking gate. And I haven't looked into it enough to know if they like how much fixing they did of that before. Yep, there was the guy. There was the pop-in guy. This is the same footage. Monterey Bay Aquarium, you're killing me. How am I supposed to get 2 hours of chill shrimp reaction when it's the same 20-minute video on a loop? I'm gonna watch this video 6 times. But at least now, I have a mental marker, Anyway. Yeah, I've been watching the Sad Boys podcast with Jarvis Johnson and Jordan Adika, and they had Curtis Connor on there recently, maybe a month ago, and Curtis is somebody who he does a lot of solo streaming, where he like a solo podcast essentially. So I was just kind of thinking when I was thinking about making this video, I was like, I wonder if I wanted to challenge myself, because that is a challenging thing to do. I think I wanted to challenge myself and see if that was something that I could reasonably do. And obviously, normally when you have a podcast, you go into it with a set of topics in mind, or a general direction that you want to go. This is just very free form, kind of just whatever I'm like thinking right now. Look, he's looking right at the camera. He's saying what's up. He's doing a little dance. Okay, let me just double check, make sure we're still recording. Yeah, we're still recording. That's my biggest fear. As I said, I've been having like so many issues while trying to record the last couple weeks. It's always some shit like this. The most recent video, it was like right as I was coming out of the depression, I had my camera set up. Right now it's a webcam directly plugged into my computer. Normally, since moving, I've been trying to film on this camera because I think it looks a little bit nicer. But this camera's pretty old. It has an autofocus, but it's not like a good one. It's like the autofocus, it like completely unfocuses the frame and then refocuses it rather than like continuously focusing. And that's because it's a photo camera, not a video camera. An old photo camera, not a video camera. And so it's not the best. It can only record 20 minutes at a time. But basically, I have a dud battery, and I didn't know I had a dud battery, and it only holds about 10 minutes of charge, which I was completely unaware of because this is a new development, and I hadn't recorded in a couple months, so I haven't been regularly using the batteries. So I basically, in the middle of this recording, when I finally was like just like peeking out of like that depressive episode, and I go to record this video, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling it. I'm getting into it. About 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by, and I'm like getting into it, and then all of a sudden, it shuts down. And when I'm recording using my camera, because the viewfinder is on the back side and it doesn't flip out, I actually have it plugged in HDMI port wrapped around, and it's displaying on a monitor. Here, I'll show you the monitor. It's displaying on this monitor right here so that I can see what it is I am recording a little bit easier. And yeah, so everything just goes dark, and I'm like, no. And yeah, all the footage of what I'd recorded was lost, and that was probably like the third incident of trying to record something and it going not well, and it just completely took all the wind out of my sails, completely like, all right, I'm gonna go not make a video now. And that was in the end of February, I think. So yeah, that's where I'm at, but I've been feeling better. I've been trying to let myself recover a little bit instead of like, starting to come out of it and then immediately jumping into something. I've been trying to do other projects besides YouTube. I built some gardens, some like raised garden beds for our backyard, which we're going to be planting stuff in this spring. That was freaky looking. Did you see down in was that like coral, or there's something back there? It like keeps reaching out. Barnacle penis. Anyway, yeah. So I've been trying to let myself recover before immediately jumping back in. But I have a couple video ideas. One that I should be able to get out here pretty soon this month. This month is also my birthday, and also my sister's birthday, and my grandpa's birthday, and my stepdad's birthday, and my roommate's birthday. So it's a busy month for birthdays, but I should still have time to get out another video. So I should have one that's gonna be out here in a couple weeks. I'm trying not to give myself hard deadlines because it works sometimes. The idea is if I give myself a deadline and I tell you guys the deadline, or I tell somebody the deadline, most of the time that'll like trick my brain into getting it done by that deadline, usually starting the editing process like 2 days before and just powerhousing through, which isn't the most healthy way to work, but it's the way my brain works, and so it's what I'm gonna do. Or what happens the other 50% of the time is I don't finish it in time, and then it really hurts my self-worth, and I'm like, great, and then I don't make a video. And that's kind of what happened on that last one, because I was going through that depressive episode. I actually did record the second Christmas video I was going to do in December, and I recorded it, but I couldn't motivate myself to edit it. And then basically what happened was our family dog passed away. And that kind of like, while I was already feeling, the winter seasonal depression, that kind of just like pushed me down, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a minute to recover. But then every time I went back to try to edit, it wasn't working out. And is this new footage? I don't know. It wasn't working out, and so I was like, okay, well, I just want to get it out by the end of December, so that at the very least, it's out in December, and then I didn't finish before the end of December, and so that really, like, on top of, being upset about that pushed me down further, and then we had some other things happen, and that pushed me down further, but we're doing better. Another thing, so the nice thing too, I was talking about how when doing something like this, like an April Fool's Day, essentially live stream, is I'm well aware of the fact that, most people are probably not going to watch to this point, especially because it is a kind of an unfocused video. It doesn't have like a direction. It's not explicitly like a podcast where it's like, as in, I'm not going to push it forward. I'm not going to like present it as a podcast. So people aren't going to go into watching it thinking it's like a podcast. I'm displaying it as a reaction video because it's an April Fool's Day thing. And so, but so what I was going to say with that is that it kind of takes the pressure off a little bit as far as like talking. I don't really have much trouble talking about my personal life, for the most part, but it definitely does relieve whatever pressure is there. Basically, hear that? Is I had started a workout routine in October. I'm going to be going as Nightwing for this Halloween is my plan. And so I started this workout routine, and Dawn and I were both doing this. Dawn was helping me. Started this workout routine because I wanted to. I don't really have any like big goals about getting like super buff, super strong. I don't really care too much about losing weight. I more just wanted to get more into that Nightwing shape, specifically for Halloween, or at the very least, that's kind of what I was telling myself, and that's what I was like telling other people. And in the reality, which I've come to realize now that I'm in a healthier place mentally, and I've started to like it's easier to reflect when you're in a healthy place mentally than when you're in a bad place. I was struggling a lot with my kind of like idea of masculinity and how that fits in with myself. And so because, you have, so the biggest thing, you as a person, no matter who you are, no matter how smart you are, no matter how aware you are not immune to like propaganda. You are not immune to the social effects that things that get put forward in front of you entail. I get that was a weird way to say that, but yeah, you are not immune to like propaganda. You are not immune to like any sort of conditioning. You could be the smartest person in the world and still, you're still a human at the end of the day. You know, you're still a person. You're still a biological functioning being who, it's very important for our brains to, I guess, you know, to like fit in, to, it's very important for us as people to feel socially accepted. And like, you know, no matter how much you like, you say you don't care, or no matter how much, maybe you just like, you do not care, there's always some level of, you want the validation, you know? That's the reason we make YouTube videos, is because then somebody like sees it and they're like, oh, you did such a good job. And it's like, that good feeling is awesome, you know? And it's like, I make YouTube videos because I enjoy creation. And when you post them and people like them, that's just like, it's such a rewarding feeling, you know? And I think there's this weird stigma where it's like, we don't want to admit that, and we think it's weird to admit that, but it's not. That's just part of being a person. Validation is very important. If you have children, go validate your children. Your children are trying their best and they want you to be proud of them. Validate your children. If you tell your children that you are proud of them and that they did a good job, that's going to do wonders for both your relationship with them and their mental health going forward. Anyway, so basically on TikTok and on Instagram and on YouTube, you know, I am a early 20s white man, cis white man. And so I'm in the prime demographic for, as far as an algorithm is concerned, I'm in the prime demographic as far as like advertisers and algorithms are concerned for a lot of the like alpha male type content, for a lot of the, you know, the Andrew Tates and the, what's that other guy? Squeako? Squeamo? What the hell is that guy's name? There's another guy. Basically, a lot of that type stuff. And so even though like I don't subscribe to that in any way, we all have like our unconscious biases and whatnot, but I try very hard to be conscious of not just what my brain is thinking, but why my brain is thinking of it. And you know, obviously I'm not immune. Like my brain's still a brain. But I try to be very conscious of stuff like that. But I do get pushed through the algorithm. I do get a lot of like that type of content. And the biggest thing about content like that is it pushes the ideas of what masculinity is. And what masculinity is in most contexts, even outside of the alpha males, but like alpha males, like the big one that's like, it's very forward about it, is, you know, being very like every time I do strong, I go, being very physically strong, very imposing. Even when you hear on like non-alpha male stuff, when you hear like an idea of like what healthy masculinity is, a lot of the times the image that is shown or conjured is of a man who is very, you know, in touch with his emotions, but is also kind of like burlier. He's bigger. It's not just like a guy, you know? And so while I do think the reason I did start working out was genuinely because I just wanted to look like the character I was going to be cosplaying, essentially. It kind of started to turn into this need to have like a perfect body, like, you know, it turned into this need for like I wanted to be like I wanted to look a certain way, and So yeah, so basically I had this thing. It was like I wanted to look a certain way. I wasn't feeling very like confident. I wasn't feeling very good. And when I was working out, I got to a point where I started seeing like real physical changes. Like I could see like bigger muscles. And then it's all wrapped up in that depression hit. And suddenly I was like having trouble motivating myself to work out and to do these exercises. And so that pretty much paired right alongside constantly being pushed this idea of like what masculinity should be, like what it is, regardless of what side. It was just the idea of I should try to be somebody else. And when I stopped working out and I couldn't motivate myself to do that anymore, that just pushed me way down further. And I realized as I think through it, I need to go to therapy. I think everyone should go to therapy. I'm feel pretty lucky in that I'm usually pretty good at self realizing what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it. And I'm usually pretty good at talking through it with myself and convincing myself to be okay. That being said, there's always things beneath the surface, and there's always things that it's like, even though if I'm battling this thing alone, like I shouldn't be battling this thing alone. There's people who are trained to help, that would help me get to a much healthier place. But basically I realized I was doing these exercises for the wrong reason. And I was working out for the wrong reason. And so what I've been trying to do since coming out of I came out of my kind of depressive era, I would say late February, as far as like conscious, like where I'm at. And I've been feeling good for the last couple weeks. And so I do want to get back into working out because I want to get back to that space. Doing it for the cosplay it's not, I don't want to say it's important to me because I'm trying not to make it important to me. But if I can do that, that is something I would want to do for that reason. So I am essentially attempting to get myself to a place where I'm okay mentally before jumping directly back into it, so I'm not rehashing those same old, not rehashing the issues in the first place is basically all I was trying to say. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I will probably hop back into a workout regimen, and I'll talk to Don. Don and I we were doing some weekly workouts, and that was really nice. It was good to see him weekly, so I'm gonna probably jump back into that, and see what happens. I'm getting some texts, I think. Do we want to see what they say? It's another video from Alex. Let's take a quick break from the deep talk. Let's see what goes on. Ooh. Ruh-roh. Whole bottle of wine. Ooh, they're going to a club. Let's go. All right. But yeah, it's so weird to think about stuff like that, and how, as humans with the capacity to be self-aware in the way that we are. I would cut my hair also. I don't know if I addressed that ever. It was shorter. We cut it in like the beginning of January, and I even recorded a little opening because I was going to turn it into a joke because my hair had gotten crazy. It was really long and poofy and big. And so I was gonna do this bit. Here, I got the video right here, where I had Olivia record this thing in the sun. It's not super in focus. And I was going to edit this video to be very clearly like like focused on the hair, focused on this big poofy mess, and then it was just gonna suddenly cut to me with yeah, so that's just me directing her. To me with shorter hair, and I have a picture. My hair's not too terribly longer, but that was kind of where it was shortly after cutting it. It's just a little bit longer now, a little more wavy. But yeah, never happened. I just didn't make a video in time, and now the hair's like kind of too long for the bit to really be punchy, I guess. It would kind of just be more like, oh, it just kind of whoop. So, but yeah, that's a place to where I could say that it happened. Hold on, I have my own camera back up, so now I'm just looking at my own face instead of the shrimp. But it's weird to think about shrimp and how humans, how self-aware we are in such a weird way, where it's like these weird, objectively silly things just ruin us. You know what I mean? And how we can also at the same time be self-aware that the same thing that you would see on somebody else doesn't even a little bit ruin them for you. Like a stray hair or like a zit on the face. It's like nobody else cares. And yet we put so much of that pressure onto ourselves for like no reason. And a shrimp doesn't have to deal with that. A shrimp's just a shrimp. A shrimp doesn't have to deal with that bullshit. So anyways, I found it. There's our guy. Yeah, this is just the same video over and over. I don't even have to go back and check now that I've written down the footage. This is just the same footage on repeat. So yeah, it's weird. It's weird to think about stuff like that. Yeah. Michael's my one of my best friends. Best friend since 3rd grade. I don't think I've had him on the channel before. No. But I went up to his apartment recently, and we were hanging out, and it was like really late at night, and we were playing Minecraft, and I have this fish pond on one of my worlds, and I was just showing him my world, and this fish pond has like a bunch of different types of tropical fish in it, and there was this. All of the fish were super colorful, and there was this one fish who was black and white. And I started I was just underwater, and I was just walking around. I was just like following him, and this fish, he just goes forward, turns, and he just wiggles around, and he just like turns and he moves, and he just swims around. And we named him Zeke, and we had this really long conversation about Zeke and whether or not Zeke thinks and what thinking actually means, you know? Whether or not, because the way that I see it, human brains and people's brains are just essentially super complex codes. You know, we're reacting to stimuli, things are coming in, we're like we're memory, and like we're thinking, and we're assigning meaning, and like it's not a computer, like it's not like a one-to-one thing. They're very different processes, but it's still on some level that same kind of call and response, the same way a machine would. So I'm like, even though Zeke only has like 2 lines of code, his lines of code are swim and change direction. What constitutes thought, and what constitutes consciousness? And one of the other things too is in Minecraft, you can take a bucket of water, and if you left click a fish, or I guess it's left click, I play on controller, so it's left trigger. I guess it'd be right click on mouse. Right click a fish, activate a fish, it puts it in the bucket. And the bucket is not a physical 3D model, it's just a sprite. So it's just like a 2D model, and there's just this little picture of a fish on it, and then you can place the fish back down. And I was like, if Zeke is conscious, if Zeke is thinking, and I put him in this bucket where I essentially zap him out of the 3D space into a 2D sprite and then replace him, is that still Zeke in the way that we would define what a conscious being is? It's the whole Ship of Theseus argument too, or like where if you were to teleport a person by taking apart their matter and reforming their matter somewhere else, exactly, is that still the same entity? In the way that you experience consciousness in the first person, and when you die or you like lose, like your body is lost, how you are just like, it's no longer there. If you were to and then reform somewhere else, does your consciousness as you experience it appear in that body? And would you even know? You probably wouldn't, because as far as that body is concerned, it has all of your previous memories and it is now experiencing consciousness. So it thinks that it's still experiencing consciousness, but is it this consciousness? Is it your consciousness that's moving over? I'm not on drugs, I promise. This is just how my brain operates. So, that's it. I've been drinking out of a Sprite bottle. It's just water, though. But yeah, been playing a lot of Minecraft lately. Been designing a new Dungeons and Dragons map, actually. We're getting a new campaign set up. I'm just going to keep showing you things from my phone. Let me show you. This has been adjusted slightly since I downloaded this, but this is currently the map that I am working on. It is the map of Westmount about 100 years after an event. Focus. An event. No. Oh, that actually focused. Yeah, look at that. About 100 years after an event known. 134 years after an event known as the Convergence. Where. Oh my god, I guess I have... How much time is left in this video? I'm about an hour in. I have an hour to kill. I could explain the entire, like, back lore of my D&D universe, but I won't get into it quite yet. Unless you're interested. Why not? Sure. Let me show you. I made a book. Okay. So, one of the characters, I'm the dungeon master. I'm pretty much a life DM. I am the forever DM. I love world building. I love being a DM, and I love getting to create things for players to experience. But one of my players has a deep religious connection, and his character has a book of religious figures in this world. And I thought it would be neat to actually make him the book. So I essentially typed out this book and I drew all these symbols and I printed it and did this whole thing, and then I bound it myself. So I did all of that binding work there, which on the outside it's pretty nice. The only place you can really tell the unprofessionalism is that inside tux, but even then it's not bad. But yeah, so this basically has essentially like a short religious history of this world, which is called Mionis, and specifically on the continent of Gondolon. And so I spent a lot of time developing this world over years and years and years. Actually, the whole religion of the world actually started as a Minecraft religion. So this is for all my Minecraft fans out there and people who like roleplay. There was a Minecraft religion called Cubism. Cubism? I want to say Cubism. Hold on. Cubism, Minecraft. Cubism. Yes, okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so Cubism is both a shared role-playing concept and a set of challenges for Minecraft that essentially creates this new like religious idea, and adds like these old gods to Minecraft, with the big three being a god of like stone and earth, a god of like nature, and a god of fire. And I thought it was super neat, and I love doing world building stuff. So one of the first big world building projects I ever tackled was for this Minecraft religion, basically. And I developed this whole Minecraft religion centered around four main gods, which were gods of air, earth, water, and fire. And maybe that brings me all the way back to my Bionicle roots. I love like elemental, like prime elemental forces, where it's, water, earth, fire, air, that also kind of represent the four states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, plasma. I think it's a really neat way, like kind of a neat concept to develop something like that around. So I developed this thing for Minecraft with those four gods, and then I created a bunch of like demigods and spirits that all governed very hyper specific things. Like in Minecraft specifically, it was like, there was like crafting gods, and there was nature gods, and every biome had its own type of like spirit protecting it. All the spirits were named. There was gods of concepts like hunting, gods of exploration, gods of redstone, gods of like crops, gods of animals, gods of undead, gods of non-undead enemies. And I developed this whole lore and this whole system and the way that it all fit together, and I thought it was so neat, and I put so much work into it. And then once I started getting older and I started really thinking how I would develop these concepts and like what I could actually like apply those to, rather than just having them in my own private Minecraft world, that was around the same time I started getting into Dungeons and Dragons. So I essentially developed this lore that I had developed for my Minecraft worlds was basically the same story that I still use today, just tweaked to a little bit, have a little bit more cohesion. And I pretty much gutted the entire gods system, aside from the four main gods, the air, earth, water, fire, and their children, which I combined into just two children. And then I added three additional gods above, who are the divine forces, who aren't even necessarily gods. They might just be forces of nature. Nobody really knows. And started developing it from there. So if you are an hour into watching me talk about stuff, I think that you would probably be okay if I talked a little bit about not my Minecraft religion, formerly Minecraft religion, but my Dungeons and Dragons lore for this world of Mionis. So why don't I start? Basically, you have the three divine forces. We have Adela, who is the god. I'm going to not even say god, but the divine force of life. Mioni, who is the divine force of time. And Zenon, who is the divine force of death. And these three rule over all of the multiverse and create these individual universes. And within these universes, they give those individual universes their own sets of gods. These divine forces, no mortals don't really know whether or not they truly exist. They kind of exist so far outside of the realm of normal mortal interaction that it's widely debated whether or not they are actual gods, whether they're actual like beings, or whether they are just simply forces that exist. Most mortals do believe, if any of them exist, it's Zenon, the god of the divine force of death. Because many people who have been to what are known as the afterworlds claim that there is some sort of presence or being who is essentially the caretaker, who, when you pass away, they take your soul and guide it on into the afterworlds. So this specific universe that this has taken place in, the three divine forces have essentially now birthed these four gods, who are Lurat, god of earth, Aesol, god of water, Ca, god of air, and Aleli, god of fire. And around what is known as the planar gate, basically this just ball of energy that that allows you to access the rest of the multiverse. Around this, these four gods formed the planet of Mionis, which is the planet this takes place on. And so they built it in layers. Lurat, god of earth, created a layer of earth around the planar gate. Aesol, god of water, poured the seas over top of the earth. Ca, god of air, breathed out the air to create a buffer between the sea and space, just at the nothingness. And Aleli, god of fire, wrapped the entire thing in a protective barrier of fire to provide light to the world and to protect it from any kind of outside force that may exist. Because while obviously at this point these gods are the only things created in this universe, there is interplanar travel and interdimensional travel, so other things from other universes could theoretically get in with enough power. So they wanted to protect... Excuse me, I just bumped everything. So they wanted to protect this little planet that they have now created for themselves. So what they do is for eons, for untold number of time, or an untold amount of time. Hold on, before I get back into that, 1 second. I still have not cleaned this mug. I'm going to put this here. No, I don't want it to be an advertisement. Put it here, but I'm going to take my mug and put my mug here so that it's easier to get. So yeah, so unknown to these gods, the divine forces essentially have placed these gods here as a test. Throughout all these different universes, the gods have placed, the divine forces have placed various forms of godliness, of holy beings throughout this multiverse, basically running their own little science experiments, unbeknownst to them. A quick note, the gods of these universes are not all-knowing. They are not omniscient. It's omnipotent, omniscient, omnibenevolent. They are not omniscient. They do not know all. They are not directly omnipotent. They have the power to see most things, but they don't see everything. And they are omnibenevolent in the sense that they wish to protect the world that they've created, and they wish to protect the people that they will eventually create. So, what happens is, after these untold eons of essentially just doing, whatever in this planet in their own little individual layers, Lurat, god of earth, who is pressed all the way at the center of this ball, gets frustrated with the fact that they are basically hidden away. And what they do is they come up to the surface of the earth at the bottom of this ocean, grab the earth, and they leap up through the waves and pull this giant mountain out of the sea. And Aesol is like, what the fuck, dude? This is my turf. Starts throwing these huge tsunamis and doing everything that they can to knock this mountain back down into the ocean, which they do. Aesol has such great control over the water that they're able to just decimate this land. But Lurat just keeps pulling up earth and is like, fuck this, I want to be free. Ca, the god of air, who is also being encroached on with these big mountains, kind of takes like a side seat to Aesol, and they together develop. I don't want to say develop. They come together and they birth this new goddess, who is Marenia, who is the goddess of storms, and they do this so that they can basically cover everything in this giant storm, this giant hurricane that is just hitting this earth and wearing it away. Because the earth, it's not like the earth we might know now. It's not earth that's like super hard and like really tough to break. It's just basic earth. It's like soft stone and like gravel and dirt, and like it's pretty basic. It's not like any sort of like magma type stone. It's just a rock, basically. So yeah, this goddess of storms, who is now just pelting the planet, the earth, the earth, literally Mionis, the planet, which is named after the god of time, the divine force of time, rather, starts doing that. Now, Ileli, who is this great barrier of fire over everything, Ileli has a constant view of the great beyond, always seeing out to the galaxy, always seeing out to, the stars, and the stars in this are possibly other planar gates, or they are literal stars, big ball of gas, or they are like blinks into like afterworlds. Nobody really knows in this universe. But Ileli has such a different perspective from the other gods, because they are constantly confronted with this great eternal nothingness and this the promise of something out there. So Ileli sides with Lorat, because Ileli's like, Lorat's locked away. Lorat's never going to get to experience this. Like, why does Lorat have to be locked away forever at the core? Even though that's that's their order, that's their place. It's not fair. So Ileli goes down and helps Lorat, and using the powers of fire and earth, they create Mediara, the goddess of magma. And let me make sure I get the name right, because Meridia and Mediara, I always tend to get them backwards, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. Shit, I think I got it backwards. So Marenia is the goddess of storms. Mediara is the goddess of magma. I might have gotten the backwards. Mediara, magma. I'm gonna keep this out. So yeah, so Mediara is now birthed from Ileli and Lorat, and starts to melt this stone and push it up through the existing mountains that Lorat has created, and spill it out over the land and create this reinforced stone that is significantly tougher to break. It is, they're obsidian rocks. They are like reinforced, toughened stone. And they essentially now just have this like equal matching, where the powers of Ca and Aesol and Marenia are able to wear down the earth over time, whereas Lorat and Mediara's bounty, Marenia's rain. Marenia is storms. Mediara is magma. So Mediara can essentially slowly push this molten rock out, creating these volcanoes and creating these reinforced lands, and they're pretty much at a standstill. And after a super, super long time of fighting, it's essentially kind of like they're growing up, they're maturing. They realize, oh, what are we doing this for? We can work together. We don't have to be in our like individual primal states. They realize, they're like, look what happens when just two of us teamed up. We birthed these two new goddesses whose powers are the best combination of both of us. So they realize we need to stop fighting. They all come together and they reset the order: earth, water, air, fire. And Laurent punches up 3 great mountains through the ocean up to the surface. Mediara pushes through this magma, which creates these gigantic islands and mountain ranges, which Laurent is also creating these mountain ranges across these islands, and creates 3 great islands around this planet. Meanwhile, I just got a text and it completely threw my train of thought. Meanwhile, Aleli takes their power of fire and their perspective of the great beyond, and they dispel this great barrier of fire around the planet. And they give that power to Marenia and Mediara. And Mediara, who was the goddess of magma, is now also the goddess of fauna, of flora, of like plant life. And they give the other half of this fire to Marenia, who uses this power to create the fauna, to create the animal kingdom. Additionally, this also gives the power of lightning, because that fire has now been imbued with the storm. And so Mediara goes around and seeds these new islands with all sorts of plants and trees and grasses and flowers, while Marenia flies over the surface and rains down the rain upon the whole thing to help grow the flowers and the plants and the grasses and the trees and the forests. And soon after that, starts populating this world with new animals to live amongst the world, to live atop the world. And all the gods come together and they realize what good they've done. And they're like, this is peace, this is life, this is great. Using our powers together, we have now gained the ability to create life, which is exactly what the divine forces in this story wanted. And Adela, the goddess of life, the divine force of life, they come down and they bestow upon this new planet, having passed this test, they bestow upon this planet mortal beings with a higher capacity for thinking, beings with a higher capacity for empathy, beings with a higher capacity for community, for society, and those become like the first, I have a word for it. In this universe, the only beings that are native to this universe are humans, dwarves, and halflings, and they all share a common ancestor, which were the archfolk. And so that's the common ancestor of these of those 3 races, species. And they also give upon this world the sun and the moon, which in this Mionis is the center. The sun and moon rotate around Mionis. So that's kind of how the world came into being. That's kind of how all the gods did this. That's the origin story of this entire place. All these mortal beings across the 3 continents, they go and they thrive and they populate and they build, and in another universe, somewhere across the multiverse, there's another set of gods, another set of 4, who they're not necessarily the same gods of air, earth, water, and fire. This is another universe. They are something else entirely. 4 primal elements of that universe, which are different than ours. And they do not stop fighting. And one god in particular manages to gain so much power that they devour the other gods in their universe and pull all of that power for themselves. Rather than coming together and creating life, this god takes the power by force from the others and becomes something completely unholy. And using this immense power, they break through the planar gate and spill out into the multiverse. And what they do now is they go into these other universes which have now created life, and they go into it, destroy and eat their gods, and twist the universe, twist the idea of life, and thinking that it was a cruel joke that these divine forces thought that they could just run little experiments on them. This god now wants to break the cycle of life, time, and death and completely defy the three divine forces. And they become the god of undead, known as Duzanin. And going from universe to universe, Duzanin is killing the gods and taking this, all the life from that universe, and raising this army of undead. And essentially just crusading, essentially trying to liberate all of these universes. Eventually, Duzanin reaches Mionis, and I don't think he had gotten too far into his crusade. He was not at a point where it was like unstoppable. They got to this point. They got to this universe at a point where they were still learning this power. Oh, I should also say, quick tangent. Let me take a sip. Quick tangent while they're there. Great clashing, great displays of power on such a ungodly scale. Think like the power of a sun. Think the power of like a nuclear bomb times like 12. Powers like that in this universe have the ability to create permanent large scale parallel planes. So the planes are slightly different than dimensions. They have similar meanings, but planes are essentially subdimensions of a specific dimension. So in the God War that happened, the ancient God War between the four gods, what happened was there was at one point just this clashing of immense power. And this clashing of immense power created two alternate realities, which are coin flips of each other. One side was the astral sea. The astral sea is a plane of thought. It is a plane of mentality, which is vast and empty. It's essentially its own space. It is a space of nothing, but it has the power to will thoughts into action, will thoughts into being. It is a realm of the mind. And it split this dichotomy. The other half became the elemental chaos. And so if you are familiar with D&D, if you play D&D, you know these terms. These are existing planes within the worlds of D&D. They're essentially, I've just retrofitted them to my lore. So it creates this split plane. One side becomes the astral sea. The other side becomes the elemental chaos, which is a very physical realm. It is a constant churning of the four elements of like fire and water, rivers of lava, giant mountains, crazy gusts of wind, tornadoes. It is a land where like all this raw physicality comes into being, and it's just chaos. So where one side is mental and peace, the other side is body and chaos. And excuse me, I had dinner before this, so I'm digesting. So that's important. Back to the story we were at before with Duzanin. Duzanin is running this crusade across the universe, trying to liberate folks from the cycle of lifetime and death. They eventually reach Mionis. They come through and they completely destroy one of the continents. They completely raise the continent of Anulara, and they move over to Gondolon, the continent where we're at. And the gods decide to make this last stand. The biggest flaw of the other gods in the universe, of the multiverses they came across, was they were not willing to give up their power. And that was an inherent flaw that allowed them to be defeated, because Duzanin was and is kind of still a god. He knows that lust for power. He doesn't expect that the gods of this universe have managed to work through the shit they had and work together and realize there is something more important than the self. And Duzanin completely raises Anulara. The gods realize we cannot defeat this. And they essentially, there was a group of heroes, classic D&D adventure style, a group of 5 heroes who go on this quest to try to defeat Duzanin before he destroys Gondolon, bringing together the power of the gods to defeat Duzanin. And the gods end up bestowing a portion of their power amongst these mortals who they know Duzanin is going to underestimate, and then they dispel themselves to be everywhere. They essentially dispel their selves, their conscious beings, to just become raw power everywhere that can be harnessed by the hero known as Andori, who is essentially the leader of this party, and in a 1 in a million chance of just luck, the gods doing the right thing by sacrificing themselves and everything going perfectly right, Andori takes all of this raw power into a blade known as the Darklight Blade and plunges it through Duzanin at the top of the main mountain, so essentially one of the 3 mountains that Larot punched up, main mountain of Gondolon, completely sinking it, and this immense power splits the realms again, which the gods know is going to happen. They know the first time they created this immense blast of raw energy, it split the dimension into multiple planes, the astral plane and the elemental chaos. This immense power splits the planes again into the spectral plane and the phaedral plane, basically my universe's version of the Feywilds, the Fey realm, and the spectral, that's what I called it, the Shadowfell. So in this universe, they are intrinsically tied, where the phaedral plane is an area of pure life and pure energy, magic, basically. The spectral plane is nothing. It's death. Not death. It is just empty. It's devoid of anything. I say death only as a descriptor of there being nothing, but death is not intrinsically bad. So I don't want to say that. It's just empty. It's devoid. And Duzanin gets split, gets sent to the spectral plane where he is essentially trapped and sealed, because without any life to force his power through, he just has they just have nothing. So they are trapped within this plane. They're within a prison in that plane as well. And what remains of the gods, this power, have now become the Fae. And the Fae are inherently elemental. So there's a water Fae, and there's an earth Fae, and there's air Fae, and there is fire Fae. And they assist in the changing of the seasons within this world, but they essentially inherited the power of the gods, and they do not have any consciousness of the gods, but each one of them has just like fractions of the gods' power, if that makes sense. So the gods split, became the Fae, and Duzanin was trapped within the spectral plane. Oh, excuse me. So, where does that leave us? Well, what happened in Duzanin's invasion was just post everything that happened, just post Duzanin's sealing, just post invasion, for temporarily the barriers between dimensions split. Portals were created, temporary wormholes were created to alternate universes, And through these portals came the other races. So like I said earlier, the native races to this world, at least this continent, the other continents have slightly altered versions, but they all came from the Archfolk. But of this continent were the humans, the dwarves, and the halflings. Well, what came through the portal in various places throughout the continent were the gnomes, were the orcs, were the tieflings, were the dragonborn, were the elves. Are there any other races? I don't think so. The gnomes. I think I said gnomes. Maybe. And they came through these temporary wormholes, and now suddenly humans who, I should have also said that the gods also bestowed some of their power amongst these into these elemental crystals, which were held by 4 sages throughout the continent, who used those powers to protect people. So the person who got the air crystal raised their entire city into the sky to keep it away from the undead. The one who got the water crystal sunk the city down beneath the waves. The one who got the earth crystal formed a new mountain up on the north of the continent, which if you actually see that map that I showed you earlier, is the white mountain up on the top. That is Mount Rakran. If it'll focus. Basically, there's a giant mountain up there, which formed around, which basically grew from the ground using the earth crystal. And the fire people, the fire one was the only one that didn't use their power to protect people. Instead, they used the power of the fire essentially to form this massive offense against Duzanin, which managed to weaken their forces enough, managed to weaken their body enough that Andori and his party were able to seal Duzanin away in the spectral plane. So it's kind of just like this huge multi-prong effort. But post this invasion, all of these beings coming through these temporary wormholes, that event is known as the Convergence. And that essentially started the second era, where society had pretty much been completely wiped out. The previous societies, as we knew it, the structure of power that had existed, and not everybody died, but most of the population was held in one of those 3 cities, either the mountain or the sky city or the ocean city. And slowly, after like a year or so, these populations began to spread back out across the continent. The elves who had inhabited the west side of this continent basically got genocided and driven south by the people who came back to reclaim their lands. Orcs basically took the north for a while. Not immediately. They still continue to. But yeah, so the world got pretty messed up. All these new races came in, and it's still settling. So the campaign we're playing currently takes place 500 years after, where the world, as far as this new status quo, has pretty much settled into this new status quo. Society has been relatively rebuilt and is now starting to thrive. Whereas the campaign we're about to start takes place only 134 years after, where societies have now just been rebuilt, and tensions between like humanity and dwarves and these new races are still pretty high, because a lot of people do see these people as invaders, even if it wasn't necessarily their choice to come through. Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's all I got for that D&D lore. That's kind of like the Sparks Notes version. There's a lot of little things that happen. Each nation kind of has its own sub-history as well. Civil wars and different structures. All the halfling cities basically getting wiped out by the orcs. Oh, but the other thing that I was going to say happened was these gods are not the only gods. So basically, after this convergence, it left these power, even if straight wormholes no longer existed, the tears at the edge of the universe were still pretty thin. And prior to the convergence, the only types of magic that existed within this universe was magic that was directly granted to a person by one of the gods. So a dozen people maybe had magic. it was super rare for magic to exist. Basically, only the like prime sages had magic. But after this, these thin, broken walls. One second. My bad. These thin, broken down barriers at the edge of the universe allowed a couple things to happen. One, it allowed magic to, basically magic from extra dimensional space, to start to be harnessed by people. So now people have the ability to learn magic. They can learn how to harness these energies that are now flowing everywhere. Some people having them inherently, some people learning them. The other thing that happened was the power of thought is a very powerful thing in this universe. And one thing that happened was the collective thoughts of mortals, collective values, collective ideas formed themselves, either formed new godlike entities known as spirits, or existing entities were able to take those beliefs and imbue them among themselves and become these new spirits. So these guys are called spirits. They are distinct. They aren't gods, because they were not, created to create the universe. But they are very powerful godlike entities, who imbue various aspects of culture and idea. So just for example, you have Ella said the Everbloom, who is the spirit of health, beauty, and love, essentially like a love god. Isilvia the Hearthlight, spirit of hearth, home, food, and family. Saria the Hammerhand, work, craftsmanship, and trade. Stuff like that. And then you have some less tasteful ones like Silma the Serpent Tug, spirit of greed, chance, and luck. Balo, man of shadows, spirit of shadows, observation, and manipulation. Stuff like that. That essentially now diversified this pantheon that existed. And certainly made the world a much more interesting place to live, but gave rise to a lot more like warlocks and clerics and people who would be able to harness these magics, harness these powers, and use them to serve a greater good or a greater evil, stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of the lore of that universe. I think it's pretty neat. I've had a lot of fun developing it and developing like the histories and stuff like that. I'm really excited to start this new campaign, because a really true classic adventure campaign has been something I've been wanting to do for a long time. The campaign we're running now is it's called Everything But Education. It's essentially the players are all bards, and the main players, I should say, are all bards, and they live in the city, and they're going to a bard college. And the way we have it set up is essentially so anybody can join at any time. So maybe somebody has never played D&D before and they want to try it out. They can just hop in as a random character. They can be a new character in the city. And because bards are a support class, it makes sense why they would go along on this adventure with this person. Essentially, the bard college is hiring out these bards, in a sense, to go along on these adventures with people. So it makes it really easy to introduce new players and have them just drop out all of a sudden. The reason we had it set up like this originally was because of scheduling. We could never really find a good schedule, like a consistent schedule that would work. So we made a system where people could drop in and out whenever. If they couldn't play, we could still play the session without them there, and it wasn't a big deal. Or if somebody did want to play, we could add them to the session willy-nilly and it wouldn't be a big deal. But now our schedules have kind of balanced out in a way that we're going to be able to actually get a consistent campaign going. So we're going to go for a more story-driven adventure epic, which I'm really excited about. I haven't gotten to DM one of those for a long time. I DM'd one a while ago, but it kind of fizzled because of scheduling issues again. But our plan currently is to host like we'll essentially have a consistent recurring D&D night. So like every 2 weeks we have a D&D night. And if everyone can make it, we play the adventure campaign. And if not everyone can make it, we pivot to the Bard College. And it's kind of a good system that works for everybody and makes me very excited to play because I love D&D. So, excellent. I think I just rambled about my lore for like 45 minutes or something like that. So thank you for sticking with me on that. I hope you found that as interesting as I did. It looks like we're rounding out our 2 hours of chill shrimp. We got about 20 minutes left. This is a moment I wish I was on an actual live stream right now with people watching, and I could be like, well, chat, do you have any questions? But I don't have any chat, and I don't think you have any questions. So if you do have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you're still watching at this point, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'm kind of just rambling tonight. This is a new format for me, talking by myself for 2 hours straight. It's certainly interesting. We had our gaming channel a while ago. Me and Dawn and my old friend and roommate Forrest, not old friend, old roommate, current friend Forrest, excuse me, where we had a YouTube channel, we had a gaming channel called The Jolly Jazz Cabbage, where we would play different types of like multiplayer adventure games. So it was another type of session where it was like you would sit there, record for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and just talk the whole time. So it's not necessarily a new format, but it's a new format in that I'm doing it solo style. So I appreciate you sticking with me while I adapt to this new format. We're about halfway. Oh my god. I just had a terrible realization. At the end of every one of my videos, I chug the remainder of whatever drink I am currently drinking. This is a whole liter that I have now 20 minutes to finish, or I have to chug the whole thing. Would it be funnier to chug the whole thing at the end? Let me look at it. Are there any adverse effects? Let me look up really quick. Is there any downside to drinking an entire liter of water at once?
According to Medical News Today, in severe cases, water intoxication can cause seizures, brain damage, a coma, and even death.
So that I knew, but I don't think just drinking a liter is bad. Here we go. Cora, a very reliable source that is never wrong. Is it bad for your stomach to drink 1 liter of water at once? A response from Arunesh Biduri. 1. It is not at all bad for your stomach to drink 1 liter of water at once, but you may feel bloated. 2. We require 2 liters of water every day, but that doesn't mean you should drink it at once because your body follows a mechanism to digest whatever you eat or drink. 3. When you drink 1 to 2 liters of water at once, you pee a lot, which is not at all bad, but it's kind of weird in and out all the time. I think I'm gonna have one more glass to get my throat nice and lubricated for the remainder of this video. And then we're going to drink the rest of that at the end. So get excited. Do you see the shrimp's little tongue? How creepy. It's so weird that we as people, pretty much all like surface creatures, are like, we have like fleshy outsides, not including bugs, but like big creatures. We're all like really fleshy outsides and soft. Whereas creatures like this, like smaller creatures, they have the exoskeleton, so they have like a crunchy outside, and then their soft bits protrude out from that crunch. And that's just kind of a weird thing to think about. It just is weird. I don't really have anything else to say besides that about that. weird. God, this is weird. Well, maybe we should play with some Legos for the remainder of the time. What do you think? All right. Get this chair right here. Okay. Oh shit. I got some non-Lego stuff in here as well. I got a wooden heart. I use some of this stuff for photo and video. Wooden ampersand. Got some tube. I got some blood bags and some food coloring. This is from a video shoot I did like 4 years ago. I got a bunch of fake blood bags that you can drink out of. They're like party favors, but I got them because they were cheap and they were what I needed for the video because there was a hospital scene. Some garbage. Couple sets of instructions for things I got this Christmas. Some TV mounting pieces. More instructions for a non-Lego set. What the hell was this thing? I got this for Christmas one year. It was a Mega Bloks. It was this weird thing. Here, I'm gonna open up the video so that you can see. It was this weird thing where it was like this like spider thingy that shot discs and it would curl up into a ball. So that was weird. And oh yeah, look at that. Let's go. Man, just the sound of pushing around Legos really brings me back. Oh yeah, here we go. So these are pieces of that spider thing. No, this was a different thing. Same line, but it was like something with like hands. It was essentially like the Mega Bloks Bionicles ripoff. Stormtrooper missing his helmet. Oh my god. Did any of you see, if I didn't get any of you with Bionicles, as in if I'm talking about Bionicles and you guys don't know what that is, I sure as hell don't think you guys will know what this is. Knight's Kingdom. I fucked with Knight's Kingdom. While Bionicle was my first Lego set, I was way more into Knight's Kingdom for quite a while until I started actually appreciating Bionicles because I could understand the story. These things were my fucking bread and butter. So yeah, they're just like, there's the little knights and they connect with these pieces here. And these pieces are like gears and they like turn. And they have this on the back that makes the arms move. And this guy is an amalgamation of many of the pieces I have. The body is from the bad guy whose name was Vladik, I think. And I don't remember the knights' names. I remember the purple one had like a D name. The blue guy was named Jaco. And there was a purple guy and a green guy. And the purple guy was old and wise. And the red guy was tough. The blue guy was the leader. Oh my god, it was just Ninja Turtles. It was just Ninja Turtles but knights. So that means, except for the green, I guess would be in place of the orange Michelangelo. So I'm assuming the green guy was, yeah, because his symbol was like a monkey, and he was like he was like crazy. He was like not crazy. He was like the free spirited one, right? He was much more wacko in his move set and actions. And there was this Flash game online where it was like a side scroller, and you would like solve puzzles and go through these temples and like the castle. And it was like I think the reason why it appealed to me more than Bionicles when I was young was because it was a much simpler story. It was, good versus evil. These are knights and they live in a kingdom. There's a king too, King Matthias or something. And so it was a much more appealing story for young me because I actually understood what was going on. I didn't understand the lore of the islands of Montanui back when I was that young for Bionicle. Here's one of the shells of that spider thing. But no, I think it was to the point where I actually they sold for a while. Knights Kingdoms had a couple generations, and there was one, Danju. Danju, I think, was the purple guy's name. I gotta see if that was right. Knights Kingdom Purple Knight. Wrong knight, Google. Lego Knights Kingdom Purple Knight. Danju, let's go. King Matthias. But God, yeah, that was so sick. I loved Knight's Kingdom, and it was like a simple lore. But there was there was a generation where there was like two really powerful guys who appeared, and it was a red guy and a green guy. And the red guy had like a bull as his symbol, and he had this shield. And I had the shield. I had like this foam shield, and I had it for the longest time. I had it until just a couple of years ago, and it was fucking sick. It was so cool. It was so freaking neat. So, yeah. Knight's Kingdom was my shit. Here we go. Here was the body of the red guy I was just talking about. So, yeah. I don't know if he's, oh, yeah, that was the thing. The thing with the stronger guys is they had two wheels. So each arm moved individually. So you could get a little more dynamic combat with that. Because it was meant to, like with your friends, you both get your little Knights Kingdoms and you go, yeah, and you attack each other. It's kind of neat. I want to find a Kanoka disc. Kanoka. Yeah, it was a Kanoki mask. I think I got that wrong earlier. It was a Kanoki mask and a Kanoka disc. I'd love to find one. But, that being said, if you grew up on Lego, you're a real one in my opinion. There's nothing wrong. Oh my God. Michael, I was talking about this earlier. Michael, my best friend, and his sister June, we all grew up together. And June was really good with Legos, and both of them had this huge collection, but June had these sets that she built that were like displayed all over the place, and they were so fucking neat, and I was so jealous every time I went over to their house. And shout out June, those were amazing, and I just think it's neat. If you grew up on Lego, you were a real one, no matter what. Let me tell you. Okay, I'm going down memory lane right now. I hope you guys are enjoying me just going through my Legos and grabbing stuff. I had this set. I don't even remember what it was, but it was these trains, right? And they had... here's the thing. I don't even think that's all my Legos. But I had this train set. And the tracks had a metal rim on them. And the front train had a powered wheelbase. And it was all powered. It all connected to this. There was like a power bank that went in here. It was all connected to this. This was connected to the railway. And you could make the train go forward and backwards by doing this. And it was my favorite set in the entire goddamn world up to that point. Get in there. And I would have it in my room, and it would just, the train would go around, and I'd play with it all day, all the dang day. And I was a messy, messy kid. I had so much trouble cleaning up. And I had this train set on my floor, and I think I threw clothes over it or something. And one day my mom came in, and she stepped on it. And she didn't know that it was, because she didn't know it was down there. It was like under clothes. And there was a bunch of wheelbases. Essentially, the way that it worked was there was these wheelbases that attached to the base plates of the train. So the wheelbases were separate. And a bunch of the wheelbases were unpowered. They were just wheels that spun. And there was only one that was powered. There's only one that would go around when the track was activated. And she stepped at the perfect spot that it broke the powered base that I have. So I was devastated. And so I never had a train that actually ran electrically again. I could only do it by pushing. And oh, that thing was so cool. I have not done enough research into Lego as a company to know how ethical it is as a company. From what I've heard, at the very least, it's a good place to work. I think they treat their employees pretty well, and I say that without a direct source in mind. That's just what I seem to remember, so take that with a grain of salt. But I'm scared, because I love Legos. It was such an important part of my childhood, and it's like one of those things that it's really important that you should know, but ignorance is bliss. So I guess let's look it up right now. Let's see if we destroy our childhoods. Is Lego an ethical company? Okay. So, according to this article on businesswire.com, here we go. The Lego Group, headquartered in Denmark and best known for its interlocking plastic bricks, first manufactured in 1947, earned the top spot in the 2019 Global CR Rep Track. The study, conducted by Reputation Institute, a global technology-driven provider of reputation, measurement, and management services, calibrates the perceptions of more than 140 companies on the merits of CR. CR Rep Track measures perceptions of citizenship, governance, and workplace, and provides a means of assessing a company's environmental and social and governance credentials. The study is based on more than 230,000 individual ratings from the informed general public across 15 leading economies. Interesting. Okay. So at least according to this, they have earned the top spot for treating their employees well, supporting the environment, and dealing ethically with business partners. Give it up for Lego. Even though you're super expensive, at the very least, you're trying more than a lot of companies are these days. Which is, it's hard to say for most people. But, okay, that's cool. But yeah, Lego was such an important part of my childhood. And I think Legos are so important for kids, not Lego specifically, but the idea of being able to just have anything and just build out of your mind is so important for like developing those creativity skills early on, in such an unrestricted way. Legos obviously come with like instructions for their sets, but it's more than that. Like there's so much that Legos can be, and most kids will make them. Like they'll just take. Even now, I have this thing. I was building a little house like a year ago just out of random bricks. And I was like, I don't care that it doesn't all match. It's just neat. It's just fun to like get the right pieces and get them to all fit together perfectly, And I just think that's neat. Bionicle mask. Here we go. This wasn't the first one that I got, but it's the same character. That's the mask of Vakama. That's his Toa Metru mask, but not his Toa Metru Hordika mask. A bunch of made-up words. Except for maybe Toa. Toa might be a word in Polynesian. I think it means hero. So, I appreciate you guys for sticking around. Maybe you just skipped to the end. Maybe you have no idea what we talked about. What did we talk about today? Let's do a quick little wrap up. We went from talking about the shrimp, and then I went on a long ramble about Bionicles, and then I started talking about my mental struggles, and then I moved on into the lore of my D&D universe, and then we brought it back to Bionicles, and now we're back to shrimp. So we come full circle. We got about 2 minutes left on the video, and this guy just has the most glorious mustache known to man. Really quick, 1 second. I just wanted to give a huge, true, heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you. Knowing that you guys are here, even though I put a lot of pressure on myself to produce like what I think are high quality videos, at least that's what I try. I try to produce high quality videos, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to be perfect, which I know I shouldn't, but I'm still working on it. I really appreciate that you guys have stuck along with me over the last couple months when I haven't posted. I really appreciate that you guys have always been so supportive and kind in all the videos. I barely had any negativity coming across, and it's always just like spam bots when it is. Not bots, I shouldn't say that, but just spam. And it's nice to be able to have a creative outlet where I can talk about things I'm interested in and things I want to say and have it be so genuine. And that's it's a really nice creative outlet. And I appreciate, I'm happy that you guys enjoy the videos, and I'm happy that you guys keep coming back for more. And I'm happy that even as I've been gone, my channel has still continued to grow. So I'm hoping to have a stronger 2023, hoping to come back and really do what I can for you guys and for myself. So this video is at an end as that shrimp walks off the rock. I guess that's it. 2 hours, done and dusted. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it and you are not subscribed and for some reason watched a 2-hour chill shrimp reaction video without being subscribed, subscribe. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Share it with a friend if you think it's funny. Screenshot just the thumbnail and title and post it on social media. And if you want to become a champion too, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and you'll get a pizza this big. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one soon. And that's a guy promise. Have a wonderful evening. This is Guy from about 1 minute after stopping the recording. That was a terrible idea to drink that much water that fast. I immediately felt like I was gonna throw up. And I feel icky.